KBBBL podcast. Where the extra B is for BYOBB.
Where's my elephant? Concentrate, man.
Hello and welcome to KBBBL podcast, where
Hi
the
there.
extra B is for BYOBB. And what's that extra B for?
I guess it's for Baker this week because I'm taking the role of Francis and supplying the B because Francis, I guess he one of those unfortunate accidents happened to him. He must have gotten either hypnotized into a chicken or got gigantism from drinking too much of that tonic. You know how much he loves that tonic.
Oh, he's hard on the stuff. I am your host, Young Ragamuffin, and with me, someone who wishes he had a Moria phlebitis. Flake
What
lover.
is that again? Are we going to talk about that in your segment later?
Probably.
Okay. Yes, hello, folks. It's a gruesome twosome today.
Yep. For now, at least.
Yeah. Who knows?
We'll see what happens.
We might have somebody. Yeah, technical difficulties. We might have somebody leap in.
Could be.
But yes, welcome to KBBL.
We're stylish. Season 2.
Yeah, we're starting season 2.
We made it.
Yeah,
we're here to
exciting.
Review season 2, episode 1. Bart gets an F. Yes, indeed. It's good to be in season 2. It feels like fresh start for this show and this podcast. Really.
Yeah, I think so. This is the first time The Simpsons, they didn't have to rush things together. They weren't figuring out a lot of the basic formula of the show. They had it more or less figured out what they wanted The Simpsons to be. And I think you mentioned before Groening's original conception of slice of life ideas. I think we're going to see that carry through a bit in season 2, but then it's going to start to get a little more zany, a little more comedic as season 2 goes, and then of course going into season 3 onwards, it starts getting more of just classic comedy that we know and love Simpsons for.
Yeah, this one feels more refined already than anything in the first season. This episode.
Oh yes.
With a cool glass of turnip juice.
Let's have a sit under the turnip tree, Baker. Did you get any new tattoos this week?
No. I've got some new tattoos coming up down the line, but for the time being, no new tattoos. I got scratched by my cat.
Oh. The scars are cool too.
Yeah, especially because this one, it kind of like, it goes right underneath the lady's face on my hand. So it looks like she's got a badass scar right beneath the eye. That's one of those things where having one is cool, but you can't just give yourself a scar. That's not cool.
No. Save some space for the hellfish.
Yeah, I know, right? That's a long-term plan. If any listeners are new to the show, we are hoping to get hellfish tattoos in commemoration of the pod, but also our love of The Simpsons.
And each other.
We're and each other. And we're World War II vets, of course, as well. So.
And it's funny because Baker and Francis have all kinds of tattoos, and I don't have any. So I'll laugh as I cry at the pain, probably.
Oh, it depends on where you decide to get it, I guess. Just don't get it on the butt.
Sam Higdon says this episode talked about his school life. Yes, it talked about a lot of people's school life. Simpsons, it's still in that serious phase, for sure.
Yeah.
Where they're telling real stories and they're trying to be a sitcom.
It's very true to life.
There's a lot of heart. There's a lot of heart in this one.
Yeah. This is something people can relate to, some more than others. Obviously, some people did well in an academic setting with tests. I, kind of like Sam and kind of like Bart, didn't test well. I struggled a lot as a kid with, I think, really the same problems Bart has with attention span. On that subject, before we move past under the turnip tree, Davan, anything interesting going on in your life?
No, not particularly. Just coming out of hibernation. Oh, Franny's
Gonna
on
be
his
spring
way.
soon. There we go.
Franny will be
Franny
here in
will
a
be
minute.
joining us, folks. So there
Well,
won't be this awkward two-person dynamic.
it's fun. The baby's talking. Everything. The baby went
Yeah.
from like no words to like knowing all the words. So it's
That's
pretty
awesome.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still think you should take the baby to the museum one of these days.
Well, it's a plan. It's like not one of these weekends coming up. It's a plan. Me and my mom and
Exciting.
the baby, we're all gonna go. We're gonna bring the little cousins. Everything. It'll be a
Exciting.
big old
I'll
thing.
give you the
Yeah.
all-star tour.
Yeah. That's what we want. That's why we're going. You know,
I still think it's
we have to
hilarious. The Simpsons.
slip a little cheddar cheese under the table. You know, we'll make it happen.
I still think it's hilarious. There's a specific Simpsons moment where they poke fun at natural history museums.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well, introspection.
Yeah.
On the chalkboard. Now, the funny thing about this one is this is a gag I used to play as a Bart type character in school. He writes, "I will not encourage others to fly." I used to write that on the chalkboard all the time when I'd be like called up front to write something serious. I'd always just be like, "I will not encourage others to fly."
As a reference to The Simpsons, that's hilarious.
As a reference to Simpsons, like I was watching it very young. So like the things Bart would write, I would write as well. Like sometimes if I would get detention a lot and I'd have to write lines, I would just start writing Bart's things. Like
That is
So-
definitely one of the funnier ones I think we've seen so far. It's also
Mhm.
kind of sinister. Like somebody can get hurt if they jump off a building.
who did you encourage? So it suggests he did do it successfully.
Millhouse? No, he's not
Milhouse
credulous.
no, he's not dumb.
No.
No.
Yeah, Millhouse
Ralph
is
probably.
awkward. Ralph, there's your answer.
No,
That's
Ralphie, you can't fly.
We're dipping our toes into Simpsons fanfic territory, but that's okay. I like it. I like the idea of Bart convincing Ralph to try to fly.
Oh, look who's
Ralph.
joining us.
Ah.
And
Hey,
another guy who wishes he had a Moria phlebitis.
Do you know what that means?
No, I should have
don't know
looked it
what
up,
that
but I didn't.
We might learn the Glavin of that later.
Okay.
Introspection, also the couch gag. They all sit on the couch and fall through the floor. Probably the best couch gag too so far, really. So they're stepping that up. I think we're gonna see they embrace the whole intro thing for season 2.
I don't even think there's a probably about it. All the other couch gags were very like understated. I think the last one of season 1 was actually kind of funny, where they just sit there and nothing happens. Like they're kind of they bait you. But this one is hilarious because like they just crash to the floor. Obviously, we see way funnier ones to come, but compared to the ones we've seen, where they just like pop out of the couch, this is way better.
Yep. We're sitting under the turnip tree there, Francis. How was your week? Get any new tattoos? Saving room for the hellfish? What's going on?
I haven't gotten a tattoo in like over a day. I get street cred for the neck one though. That's all I need. No, man, just working. Nothing exciting. Hanging with the boy. I'm drinking another IPA.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that. Baker had to tell us what the extra B was, and he just made it himself. I mean, possibly the most narcissistic B we've had so far. I'm just kidding.
Hold on, I got to look
giving
it.
Yeah,
write down for it. Oh.
Is it Flake Lover or should I be Baker Lover? Is really the question thing.
No, it was supposed to be for Big Gorilla Week.
So you know what? Fellow United Federation of Podcast member and podcaster and actor Michael Chan showed me today is that if you take this is that same Butterfinger I ate like on our first episode or second episode or whatever. But if you take if you take the butt, I never finished it. I figured out why I never liked Butterfinger as a kid. Yeah, but if you take the ER in Butterfinger and move it to the end, you have a Buttfingerer.
That is the inner Bart Simpson in you coming out, no doubt.
Don't lay a finger on my butt fingerer is a whole different commercial and advertisement.
Yeah, it's a whole other. Really paints an image.
I would say so.
All right, any more on butt
Sam's,
fingering, or are we gonna
Sam's
get
happy
into
you're
this
here,
episode?
Francis.
Yeah, sorry,
Oh,
gentlemen. I pulled a classic dad. It was like 8:30, and I was like, I'm just rest my eyes for a second.
How
And I
dare
woke
you
up
have
and it
some
was-
responsibilities?
Yeah,
You
I
can't
know.
I
take
hear
breaks.
Yeah, no breaks, no breaks. Speaking of breaks, now it's time for a bake down.
The
Whoa!
screams, the humiliation.
Oh my God!
Ooh, I've never felt so alive.
Oh my! What is this bake down you speak of, Davan?
Are you gonna go break down the episode for us, aren't you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I know. I was just playing dumb. So we decided to split the load a little bit, because I'm always yakking. So
Baker's
since
a
I'm
wonderful
like,
public speaker.
oh, you're too kind.
Speaking of which, how come everyone's all like cozied up? Like Davin's got his usual fucking like Jedi robe on. Baker's got like a blanket draped over his shoulders. How
I'm
come
just
I'm
wanting to
here
be
like
cozy.
a jackass? Nothing.
Because I'm drinking.
on me.
Showing up
Bacon's got a
late.
little bigger-
No, I don't know. I just feel
Probably my new
cozy.
favorite Irish whiskey. This is damn tasty. This
Yeah.
Skelhorn.
And also, my apartment is also just like extremely hot, and it always is. So that's probably partly why I don't want to get cozy, because it would be
Fair.
cold.
That's fair. I'm jealous. My apartment. My mom's basement is cold. Anyway, I'm gonna do the bake down for
Bake
this
down.
season. Essentially, it's a breakdown, but since my last name is Baker, it seems like a nice little pun. I think Bart would
I like
appreciate it.
puns.
Yeah, I like puns too. I'm a glutton for punishment, as you might say. So this episode is a pretty fun one. It begins with Bart essentially doing a book report for his class on Treasure Island, and he just has no it's blatantly obvious that he doesn't know at all. He hasn't read the
Come
book.
on and kill me. I do not care who kills who. To catch a
Yes.
fish, to kill a bull, to make love to
Make
a woman,
love to a woman.
to
Yes.
live.
It's funny the different reactions. Some people either love that book or get super mad that he doesn't just let the fish go. It's just like just let the fish go.
It's a great work of literature. I think it elicits different responses from people.
It
I
does.
honestly my heart goes out to Martin, because I kind of was a Martin. Like, I was a bit of a teacher's, not like I was trying to brown nose so much as I just was really enthusiastic about nerdy stuff like Hemingway. So like I would totally be that kid doing a really over the top presentation. And then you could just see the looks in the kids. They're like, what the hell is happening? Like,
Bob loved it.
But
and
Fran was
Bart,
like-
yeah. Bart slips, what is it? Some ketchup? Ketchup packets?
Ketchup, yeah. He's like a little ketchup for the buns.
He gets
Yeah.
Martin pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Classic Bart.
So essentially,
And then
Bart,
Bart's turn to
because
go up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Play the sound bite.
Did I mention this book was written by a guy named Robert Louis Stevenson and published by the good people at McGraw-Hill?
I love that. It's like acknowledging the
Yeah.
publisher like he gives a fuck.
Yeah. It's the information he has available to him. And then what is it? Krabappel presses him for the name of the pirate.
She does indeed.
Bart,
I don't know.
did you read the book?
Mrs. Krabappel, I am insulted. Is this a book report or a witch hunt?
Then perhaps you'd like to tell us the name of the pirate.
Oh man, these early seasons Bart was so good.
Yeah.
Blackbeard, Captain Nemo, Captain Hook, Long John Silver, Pete, Bluebeard.
He knew a lot of pirates.
Yeah, and you know what?
And I'm pretty sure his first one was correct. Blackbeard.
Yeah. Treasure Island's been a little while. Long John Silver, I think, is in Treasure Island.
No, I think it's Blackbeard, right?
All right,
I was thinking Blackbeard, but I think later they referenced it as Long John Silver, like in the same episode. But I thought it was Blackbeard too.
The point is, Bart, he's not dumb. It's unfortunate he didn't I feel like if he had even known the name of oh yeah, it is Long John Silver, by the way, is the main antagonist of Treasure Island.
Oh,
So
well,
Bart
shit.
did have it. If he had just read the name or skimmed the back of the book, he could probably have spun a bunch of bull crap and pretended to have done the book.
Mhm.
But he didn't even try that. He didn't do the bare minimum. He just showed up with the book and riffed based off of the cover, which is almost impressive.
He's got some
how
sweet
lazy
video
that is.
games at home.
But Bone Storm hasn't even come out yet.
That's true. Bone
Wow.
Storm.
Oh,
It's a great game.
Man, even putting in your name is super entertaining. So Krabappel just challenges Bart to be a better student, essentially. Warns him, you're going down a bad path. And Bart doesn't really register any of that.
No.
Blah,
And then
blah,
he just
blah, blah, blah,
Yes,
blah.
ma'am.
Bart, you haven't been paying attention to a word I said, have you?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then what did I say?
Straighten up and fly right.
That was a lucky guess.
That was a lucky guess. Oh,
That's one of my favorite lines.
that is
Yeah,
I
that
think
was-
probably my favorite moment of this episode.
That was the first thing
Mhm.
that was the first thing I put in my list of moments until I had to whittle it down by the end of the show.
Yeah.
But I like that a lot.
Maybe
get
as
a
we
really
go
good
on, I'll
Kabobble
remember
this
another
episode,
funny
too.
one.
We get classic Kabobble this whole episode.
Yeah.
Again, classic Bart too. Straighten up and fly. If he was that resilient with his book report,
Yeah.
he'd had it.
He's a charmer. He
Yep.
just pulled that one right out of his subconscious and just I guess that's what they would tell me. It's very funny.
Or what he's heard 100 times already.
But then
She
he goes
doesn't
on
even
to-
believe him that he was listening.
No.
She's just like,
No.
You just guessed.
It was like Charlie Brown, right? The wall, 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 wall.
Yeah.
And then he just goes on to, procrastinate through the course of the day, doing various things that don't involve his book report, even though he has another chance at it. So it's kind of frustrating. He's given all these chances and he just is really, he has ADHD is I think what it is, or at least he has something comparable to that.
I would say so.
I was just
That's
curious
how he'd
about that
be
because
diagnosed.
if you look at the time this was written, it would have been before, the ADHD diagnosis was as prevalent as it is now. Could this just be, them trying to caricature just a kind of shitty at school kid who doesn't pay attention, who realistically probably did, that archetype probably did have ADHD just before people were diagnosing it, right?
Yeah. Before ADHD, there was probably the concept of kids with short attention spans, or kids that are fidgety, or kids that are procrastinators. Mark,
piss and
he's
vinegar,
dumb.
they
You know
say.
it. I know it. We're all dancing around it. He's dumb. Dumb as a post.
Yeah.
That's actually really
Get
Some of that
outside and
stuff is
blow the
actually-
stink off you, they'd say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Mhm.
Some of that stuff's pretty sad though. We'll get there when we get there, but Bart's feelings about himself throughout this get pretty raw at a couple
Oh
points.
yeah, he
Oh,
soul
yeah.
searches.
Lots of heart.
What are the next sound bites we got here, Davan, for his procrastination over the course
Yeah,
of
the
the day?
sound bites sort of take us through the episodes too. Well, no,
I'm just wondering if
the
you have
next
one.
sound
Do you have
bite
one
is
for
this
the ape videos that Homer and Bart watch? That's an excellent moment.
No, I just have the
So
next day.
unfair.
What you're saying.
Blindfolded chimp with a pencil in his teeth has a better chance of passing this test than you do.
Is that a reference to the ape movies? Is that a callback?
I don't know, maybe.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah, could be.
Martin is a great little character in this episode. We've seen Martin already, but now he's more and more. We're seeing him develop as the mincing kind of effeminate. I'm not knocking on being effeminate, but clearly in this context, he's supposed to be kind of a pushover, nerdy, picked on kid.
Not just Martin.
He fits the role really
everything.
well.
I don't know what happened in the off season between these seasons, but you come back, the animation is 10 times better. The writing has matured. Even people that were side characters, all of a sudden, every side character in this, all of a sudden seems like who they are the whole time. You know what I mean?
If you'd have showed up on time, you'd have heard us talking about that.
Yeah. Took it out of
Well,
my
sorry.
mouth there, Davan. Took the words out of my mouth.
I'm such a good father, Davin, that I was just exhausted from all the dadding I did today.
Yeah.
And,
Great,
you know,
great father.
it took something out of
Terrible
me.
podcaster.
I fell
Oh, man,
fell
we
asleep
just-
in a pool of joy about parenthood on my couch. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I nearly passed out from like the tantrum and meltdown that was happening. It's like,
you know what, Francis?
shutting
That actually
down.
makes me think of. We're going to talk about this episode very soon, where Homer gets his hair back, and when he does that, one of the first things he does is he rolls around in the grass with the dog and the cat, and with Bart and Lisa, and he's just like laughing happily. And now that's just what I'm imagining you like, just like laying with your child, like playing, and you're like, ah, just loving life. But
No, it's not
we'll get
more
to
like
that
hearing
episode.
crashes from the other room and being like, "What was that?" That's a lot more realistic, but
Anyway, keep her going, Baker.
All right, so Bart does not do well. Surprise, surprise, right? He has the chance to do well. You have the soundbite with Martin, but before Martin, he talks to Sherry and Terry on the bus, who give him a bunch of phony answers, which is pretty funny as well. Classic Sherry and Terry just being kind of bitchy. They're just like mean spirited.
Where did the Pilgrims land? Go.
But then Martin extends the olive branch, being like, "I don't know why I should care, but they just gave you a bunch of bullshit."
Because Martin's not a bad person. He's a nice guy. It's sad because like he just wants to be a nice person, but you know,
he's just easily driven to extremes at times.
Yeah. Anyway, Bart, because he doesn't have the answers, Sherry and Terry, he realizes that if he gives those answers, it's not going to go well. He pretends to be sick. He essentially has a very dramatic attack in the class.
Oh, no.
Boy who cries wolf, sort of. You know, Krabappel, you can tell, doesn't really buy it.
Arm?
Both arms, ma'am.
Temporary loss of vision?
Oh, who said that? Come closer.
Yeah.
And
She's eating out of his hand.
Nurse, like, eats it right up.
Yeah. Very credulous.
Convinced her he had cancer if he knew the symptoms offhand.
Which he doesn't. That's the other thing. It's like if Bart had any like foresight for any of this, but instead he's just literally repeating back the things that she says. It's great. Oh, Bart.
Stabbing pains. Must take test.
Yeah, he's creative. He's smart. Like he's coming up with a on the fly reason not to take the test. He just doesn't want to read the fucking book.
He's a hustler. That old Bart's a hustler.
So of course it works, and he gets sent home, and then he proceeds to be pampered for the next little while.
Make a double cappuccino chocolate fudge.
Oh, your third bowl. I think you may be on the mend.
His vision's
I find that hilarious because she's just feeding him tons of ice cream, expecting it to make him healthier. She's like, "Oh,
it's so
ice cream bowls is all it took to make you better."
Listen,
like, oh my
it's
God.
just good that he's eating after all those stabbing pains in his arms.
I guess so. Lisa's appetite is back, thank God.
Yeah. And then he requests a TV. I don't know if you have that sound clip where it's like, his vision's coming back.
I wish I had a Moria phlebitis.
Wish I had a Moria phlebitis. That's all I got. No. Well, ice cream and stabbing pains and loss of vision.
Yeah. Well, eventually it just doesn't work. Bart procrastinates and he copies Milhouse's answers to the test. And then, of course,
that's not good because he's like the second biggest idiot.
Well, no, and it leads to the funniest, probably. You know, I say this now because I was mentioning that earlier moment, but now I think this is funnier, where she's just like, "This is almost as bad as Milhouse." Like,
what are their friends?
Milhouse, just like all the easy to bully qualities of Martin, but none of the intelligence.
Well, it's even funnier too, because like he's like, "I know how to pass a test. I'll just call up Milhouse and get the answer." Totally oblivious to the fact that his friend is just as shitty as he is at what's going on. Like you should know that already.
Yeah.
No, but Francis, Milhouse has glasses.
No, I guess so. Yeah.
It's true. He's a Poindexter.
Poindexter.
And Van Houten business
A true
Cracker
Dane.
business.
business acumen like fucking Kirk Van
Mhm.
Houten, the Cracker Factory was.
Oh, he's a pretty big wig down at the Cracker Factory, for sure.
Let's not go down the rabbit hole talking about Kirk Van Houten and his troubles at the Cracker
We could
Factory.
spend an hour
I
on it.
could go on. Don't get me started. But what happens is because Bart, he pretends to be sick, but then of course he is on the mend, and then he copies Milhouse's test and does bad. He is taken to the guidance counselor's office, Pryor, who we saw already. And I do think they actually kind of carry over some continuity there. It seems like Pryor remembers Bart. You guys catch that? He knows Bart, and he's like,
Yes.
But he's like as bad at his job as Dr. Marvin Monroe is. Like he's
the
pretty
nurse,
awful.
honestly.
He got duped into the gifted child thing, and now he's.
That's one thing we find out about Springfield in these early seasons is that people are really bad at their jobs.
Yeah, pretty well, everybody. It's the town. You might say it doesn't exactly embiggen its citizens to become effective members.
I think
of the
our
society.
district psychiatrist, Dr. J. Lauren Pryor.
Hey, Dr. J.
Dr. J.
Yeah, familiarity from before.
Julius Irving nod there.
I think
Bart is an underachiever, and yet he seems to be, how should I put this, proud of it?
See, now that was huge. That was one of the big catchphrases. It was up there with like "Don't have a cow, man, and eat my shorts." Like,
I remember that.
Underachiever and proud of it, man, was on all kinds of merchandise. It was,
but he never characterizes himself as that, and he's really upset that he doesn't do well. I don't know if Bart's an underachiever per se. He just literally
he says it later.
Brain doesn't seem to concentrate the way that a normal person's brain would be able to. Like he doesn't have the ability to focus. So we'll get more into that.
It's hard to say because so much. I mean, aside from what we see later in this episode, where he gives it the real college try, like so much of what he does is around failing because of the mischief he's involved with and not paying attention in the first place. You never really get to see an instance where Bart's like, yes, I'm a 100% dedicated student actually paying attention and see what sort of comes of that, right?
Yeah.
One of his problems may be his short attention span, which can
blah
lead
blah
to
blah blah blah
blah blah blah blah blah blah blah.
This is great. We see where it comes from, right?
Well, they make that point time and time again. I think is that Bart is a chip off the old block with Homer, and Homer's kind of a chip off the block with Abe, but Abe in his youth was maybe a little more competent.
Abe was spry.
Hard to say.
Yeah, back
hard
to say.
But regardless of where it comes from, definitely Bart they suggest that he might have to repeat the fourth grade. Repeat the fourth grade, and that phrase just haunts Bart.
Well, this would be terrifying for a kid.
That was like the thing that like people didn't want to have happen to them. It was one of the big things in school that like you want to get out, so having to do a whole year again, it's not appealing.
I was the smarty pants that got put in the split class, so I got separated in other ways.
Like kind of like the baccalaureate type program.
Well, like if I was in grade 2, I was actually in the class with the grade 3s.
I wasn't for my age group, but I was very young for that age group, so I think I actually would have benefited from being held back a year. But can't go back and turn the hands of the clock now.
What happened to that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young lad I was? Anyway, back to this episode.
Well, Bart is haunted by the fact that he might have to repeat the fourth grade. So he turns to Martin for assistance, which is this great little buddy moment between the two of them where they each mentor the other.
The class has shown at least some form of improvement, and yet you continue to struggle. Why is that?
I don't know.
See, that's crazy. Like he's they put it all on him. It's not because of the guidance counselor. It's not because of the teachers. It's not because of the parents.
The curriculum.
What's wrong with you, Bart? Or the curriculum?
And it's like he is like doing it on purpose. Like, tell me what the problem is. Tell me what's fucking wrong with you right now. Like, that's crazy.
Like this episode was bringing attention to the problems with the education system in primarily the U.S. with their references, but
it's
same
just
with
as bad here in
It's the
Canada.
same with it's
and
just as bad
most of the
here,
world.
man. Yeah, but like
So
that's
I don't know if you have any more
crazy how
sound
bad
bites
he
from
is at
Briar.
his job.
But we get to
No,
Bart and Martin, and I love Bart laying down to Martin, like, listen, you're not liked. Like, no, like Martin, his whole
Not?
world is shattered. It's so funny. He's like, I thought I was respected. Like, no, look.
He's like, no, man, watch.
I
He
hope we
just
have
like
some sound
pushes
bites
him to
around,
the ground.
around the Martin thing.
Very rough, but also kind of funny. So yeah, they have this
hanging out under the tree.
Yeah, they have this pact where the two of them agree that they're going to help each other out. Bart will teach Martin how to be cool, and Martin will teach Bart how to be a better student.
Do you have any sound bites about that interaction where he tells Martin he's not cool? Like,
yeah, I'm curious as well.
As God is
I
my
was laughing
witness,
pretty hard.
I can pass the 4th grade.
And if you don't, at least you'll be bigger than the other kids.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. It's like it's not the end of the world, actually. But when you're a kid, it feels really bad to have to do a whole grade.
The only one I have about them is like,
And we'll clearly need a few ferns in here. No study area is complete without adequate plant life.
I agree with Martin. Martin's on
Yeah.
point there.
Martin's on point with most of his suggestions for Bart, to be honest. Like he's a very
It's true.
Oh, do you have the soundbite with the real book? Because that's one of the funniest parts of the episode too. Where Bart is
No, I don't think I did get that one.
He's diligently like looking at the book and like reading.
Yeah.
And then he starts to fall asleep, and Martin just like whips him. And then he's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
soon there it is. Soon you'll be ready to do it with a real book.
He's just
Isn't that like
flogging him into
one of those horse
attention.
whips too? Like one of those like
It's
horse
what do they call that? Where you whip the horse? There's a particular term.
I don't
for
know.
that type of whip.
Yeah, there is, but
That's
so funny.
But,
that's quite the team though. Like,
yeah, this
When I
starts
was
to
in
go awry,
elementary school, I
though.
just
Bart's got his comic book hidden behind the book there.
Yeah, and Martin has his like mathematics textbook hidden behind his comic book. But Martin seems to take better to Bart's education than Martin. It's actually kind of ironic because Bart is trying to become a better student, and he ultimately fails at learning or taking the lessons from Martin. But Martin, being a good student, of course, takes the lessons, and you see that he remains a good student, but then also he develops his social skills to the point where it's like Bart creates a Frankenstein. Yeah, Bart creates a Frankenstein.
He does.
Doesn't even care about helping him. He's like, I don't need you anymore.
I think I understand.
Gives up on that
The
project.
potential for mischief varies inversely with one's proximity to the authority figure.
Well, yeah, but don't say it like that.
Your happiness decreases with your intelligence. Here, I made this graph. I make a lot of
chart
graphs.
too.
I just love it. Lisa.
The Martin Prince you made a deal with no longer exists.
That's what Bart. Yeah, see, he's created a monster.
Goes mad with power.
His whole breakdown is hilarious. I forgot about that whole thing.
Well, he thinks he's right cool. Like there he is, like
hair slicked back,
skull shirt.
He's wearing a skull shirt.
Yeah,
pretty
he's
slick
for
for
Sackle
90s
or something.
Yeah, the arcade. Ready to hit a
yeah. Oh yeah, let's go to the arcade, fellas. They're all like,
Listen, let me tell you
merging.
something. Walmart moving into Lower Sac will ruin an entire generation of young men with fucking
Oh man, when we had the
flame
Kmart
pants and fucking skull shirts and dragon tees is fucking god
you got
awful.
stabbed dragon tees.
When Sackville had the Kmart and the It store and the flea market on Sundays, it was like my favorite place in the world.
The Sunday flea
What
market
has
was fucking
Sackville
baller
become?
though. When we were
It sure
teenagers and we were
was.
like not old enough to do anything else, we used to rock the Sunday flea market. You go pick up some fucking trading cards,
anything
or
down
fucking, I don't know, different card games. You always had that one sketchy table with like knives and like Zippos, and then we'd fucking go to A&W.
Oh man, for our American listeners, A&W in Canada is a totally different chain. By the way, it's kind of weird. There's two A&Ws. There's the Canadian A&W, And then I guess
I
the
didn't
American
realize
one,
that.
like they're. Oh yeah, dude, it's one of those weird things where like we exist here in our Canadian bubble. I forget where I first found this out about A&W. Another fun one is was it Rockets and Smarties? You know, there's all kinds of weird like crossovers.
And there was an old school when I was a really little kid. There was an old school A&W. Remember those? You know those like old school kind of you see in like 50s movies, that kind of like drive up things and where they bring you your food,
Yeah,
like
like
not on
the
roller skates, but like they're like
Sort of like
drive
the
up
place
restaurants.
Mars
come up to you.
works.
Yeah.
It was like that. It was like this old
Yeah.
school drive up restaurant, but it was like an A&W. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm old.
So Bart, it doesn't work as well for him as he would like because
No.
Martin ultimately decides that he just doesn't need Bart's help anymore. So he resorts to the last desperate act, or the last act of a desperate man, prayer.
Prayer, the last refuge of a scoundrel.
Yeah,
That line
yeah,
always stuck with me.
Scoundrel.
That's one that's a good line.
Lisa's like a
is
I
that
love
from
Lisa's
something, or is that
little
just
like
Lisa being
not even
smart?
witticisms, but like intellicisms.
yeah, it's
Like,
sage. It's a sage observation.
Yeah, man.
It's not like she's just saying it to herself, you know, like she's just smart. I
Yeah.
love Lisa.
Lisa thinks in like literature. Like
She is Bart's conscience this episode too. She's the one who really like pushes Bart to. Well, we're gonna get to that, right? Bart prays, and we get the hallelujah because, you know, I had a snow day last week, boys. Did you guys have a snow day last week? We had a bit of a storm here in Nova Scotia, and Bart in Springfield is blessed with another opportunity when he gets a snow day. Very lucky.
It hashed my spring buzz. You guys should see my plant.
unfortunately,
My garden's
because
coming
I work in
along.
transportation, it may have been snowing here, but it was not snowing where all of our trucks were transporting things, so we all still had to work. But
Well, I'm sorry, boys. I celebrated my winter holiday for the both of you, so I don't think that
This
makes
is
you feel
Baker.
any better.
La 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 la
Yeah,
la.
that's me.
La 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 la.
Frolicking for sure. Or like, you know, Homer in the Land of Chocolate, except it's just like a winter wonderland, and I'm just like licking the icicles and stuff. No, I just spent indoors, kind of like I am now, wrapped in a blanket. But yeah, Bart sees outside. There's all those people celebrating. He's ready to go outside. Lisa basically checks him at the door and is like, "Listen, you prayed
I'm
for
no
this."
theologian. I don't know who or what God is exactly. All I know is he's a force more powerful than Mom and Dad put together, and you owe him big.
Yeah.
Even if like you're not religious, just to be true to yourself, you know, you wanted desperately for this situation to happen, and now it has. You have to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
Pick
it's
yourself
like given
later.
this
regardless of the
opportunity. Yeah, and
Like-
Bart. This is what's really tragic is that Bart actually tries, and we see that he just doesn't have a good attention span and just can't force himself, even when he's trying, to actually make it through the
I
whole
think
book.
something interesting about Lisa's statement I really thought about here is that it's interesting the way she describes God. You know, I don't know who or what it is. It's philosophical, but at the end, like the way she says you owe him big, it's like despite her lack of understanding, in her mind, there's no doubt he exists, though.
Yeah,
Lisa's
so
an
Bart,
atheist.
she gets to that point.
Like,
I think she has like a spiritual evolution, right? She becomes a Buddhist, but definitely.
Oh yeah, right.
That's
true.
But
yeah, she hasn't completely renounced Christianity yet.
Hey, you young ragamuffin. I was never one to back away from a snowball fight. Smithers, you may fire at will. Certainly, sir.
I love it. Has Smithers do his dirty work.
I love it. You young ragamuffin.
That's what Davan got his name from.
This day to be Snow Day.
Snow Day.
This day in the history of Springfield.
Yes. Is this Quimby's? This is Quimby's very first appearance, I think.
What? Really?
I think so.
Is that so?
We haven't mentioned him.
Mayor Quimby, who is a parody of John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy.
Quimby.
I am
the
no
first
longer
appearance
illiterate.
of Quimby.
Yes.
Excellent.
Well, you know, we haven't mentioned him on any of our notes here, so Jeez, you
right.
might be
You know what?
right.
Baker.
I
Yeah, think
love
you're
this
right.
show so much. When I'm looking at like the references for this episode on like the Simpsons Wikipedia, it even has things like Blackbeard. Like there's a picture of him from the
Was he-
the
was-
Treehouse of Horror episode where he appears and sits in like the high chair. Like
Was
why
he
would
not
they?
in the
His chair
Jebediah
behind
Springfield
says I.
episode?
He might have been, but I just think it's funny that like he doesn't actually appear in this episode. He's just mentioned, but they in the Wikipedia they still have his picture as like a mentioned in. Yeah,
From,
this
like,
chair
the
be
other
high,
episode
says
that he
I.
is in there,
It's
yeah.
classic. I'm sorry, Mr. Blackbeard. This is the only chair we had left. But yeah, I think
Also
this is
nice
Quimby's
to
first
Marge, too.
appearance. Yet
Oh, wow.
another amazing character that they're adding to the
Oh,
show.
I love Quimby.
Also, briefly,
so funny.
we should point out, why is Sideshow Bob out of jail? What's he doing? How's he like?
We
how's
see
he
him
there?
here?
Yes,
Was he
we
in the
do.
snow montage? I missed him.
Yeah,
I
he's
didn't
in
see
the
him.
snow montage.
I missed him
think.
too. Oh wow.
Hey, look, everybody! John Hancock's writing his name in the snow.
That's a pretty
With
funny
his-
line.
With his wiener, I assume, right? Like the joke is his
What?
wiener.
No, he was using a pen.
Ah, okay. Pen is mightier. I getcha.
Yeah, exactly. We missed this too. Like, I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
not
sorry. I
Yeah,
did
I
skip
thought that
over
was
this
pretty funny.
classic
Yeah.
bit. Old man Bart.
And Bart Jr.
Yeah,
Bart
Bart
Jr.'s smarter than the old man, though. Bart,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where
he's
that's
a
where
little-
that's
he's a
where they
bit of a
mentioned
keener.
Long John Silver because Bart Jr. knows, and he's like,
Doesn't that make him even more pathetic, though? That the fact that he like is not even as intelligent as his own
Like,
son.
look how old he is. They make him look as old as Grandpa. Like he's got the old
Yeah.
man liver
The
spots.
liver spots, yeah.
But he has this
Maybe it's
young
just-
kid.
maybe
Some
it's
great
just haggard
animation.
from the years of repeating the fourth grade. Krabappel will do that to you.
Repeating the fourth.
She was a hard lady. I mean, I love her. She's one of my favorite side characters. And she's good in this episode.
I laugh just like her. I've never even noticed it.
I know. Another year together. Oh, it's gonna be hell.
I guess we just zoomed ahead a little bit. Yeah, he failed yet again.
Yeah, he failed. I mean, we knew this was coming. I alluded to it when I said that like he struggles. He can't.
The
concentrate
episode is
even
called
when he
Bart Gets
tries.
an F.
Yeah,
Krabappel not even.
It's
not
a-
even
it's
at
a
that.
high
We're gonna
F.
spend another together. It's gonna
It's
be
a high
I gave him
F.
like I had a teacher give me a grade higher than I deserved once for like this very reason. Wow, I didn't realize how much this episode happened in my life. So Bart needs this grade to get into grade, what is it, 5?
Yeah, it'd be
He's
grade
trying to
four.
get
He's
into.
10, he's in grade 4. Yeah.
Of course, he
Um,
stays forever in this grade because, like, advancing the
I needed a
time.
certain mark to get
Oh.
into university, which I definitely didn't deserve, but the teacher gave it to me.
Same thing happened to me. I think teachers do that actually quite regularly because, again,
It's a good thing to do. It's
Well, it's if the student is demonstrating
can.
applied knowledge, right? This is the whole message of the episode. And just for
I know.
time's sake, if we're gonna get into the point really quickly,
I
or
really
like,
tried this time.
Yeah, well, I'll save it.
Tried.
There.
This is as good as I can do, and I still failed.
Well, 59. It's a high F.
yeah, like it's a high F. But
which she
Bart
should have
tries his
squeaked
best
up
and
to a
fails.
60 or 61.
It's an indictment. Well, she does, and it's an indictment though
Yeah.
of the education
now I know
system.
how George Washington
It
felt when he
is.
surrendered Fort
This whole
Detritus
episode
to
is
the French in
brilliant.
1754.
I don't know what that's all about. So Bart knows more about American fucking history than I do.
I
Sorry,
will say
American
that where he
history.
starts crying about his
Americans
grade
are gonna get
was-
angry at us.
It was
Yeah.
fucking heartbreaking to me. And
I've been
like,
there.
I never noticed when I was younger, but now just having it, all I could picture was like Andre trying that hard at pouring his little heart out about not being able to pass something. You know what I mean? Like it was like way more gut wrenching than like a comedy show should be for like the 30 seconds that piece happens. I was like, what a
Yeah.
sad piece of
I
fucking.
remember seeing
writing
kids do
is.
this.
Yeah,
Like,
I was this kid.
they
I
would start crying because they were trying. Like, I would remember
Yeah.
seeing kids, they're just like, I can't do it. And they start crying. And it's just like, oh my God, it used to break my heart back then. Well,
sad stuff, man.
Such a good episode.
It is.
And
it's a
yeah,
very
she
good
does the
episode.
right thing because of his
She-
applied
yeah.
knowledge. He gives
Right
him a
next to the
D
cat.
minus.
We didn't get to talk
But I
about
love that his
but I
D
do
minus.
That should have. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
here's
the cat
this
didn't get
thing.
come up,
So
but the
early in the
fireman.
episode, Lisa gets like an A, of course, or A plus.
Yeah.
And they put it and they cover up Bart's little cat drawing from
Oh,
grade
yeah,
1.
because Homer wants
Or-
to kill
Yeah.
2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what he's-
but like he's like my paper. It's not his drawing or anything. That's like his paper. That he got an A on. It was just
It's
like
a
a little
pretty cute
drawing.
cat, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
It almost like is like almost saying too, like in a roundabout way, that like Bart is stunted in a sense where like he's still like all we have from him is this childish drawing of a cat, even though he's should be far beyond that developmentally, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, and that scene where they see him here, like they see him passed it in the book, Marge and Homer find him. And Marge is just like, oh, he tries so hard. Why does he keep failing? And Homer's just like, he's probably just a little dim.
A little dim.
Yeah.
Just a little
It's
dim,
kinda
I
cute,
guess.
though, because they're like, we love him anyway. We just think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. Like,
Well,
Yeah,
again,
it's
kind
sweet,
of dancing around it. I'll talk about this in a second, but like it's almost like Bart doesn't need to know everything about Treasure Island to be a functional human.
Exactly.
adult.
This episode is such an indictment on the education system. I feel like that's going to be your point here, Baker.
It is,
But-
yeah. It is.
So we're there
Stop
now.
stealing it.
There's just this.
We're proud of you, boy.
Thanks, Dad. A part of this D- belongs to God.
I love that part.
You know what?
Credits God.
That line
as
is,
the-
oh my god, this episode is so genius because honestly, if
because
you were an omnipotent
God
and
sound
omniscient
shitty,
being and
yeah.
this is the world you created, you definitely only get a D minus. Like
D
I love
minus
the
at
Earth, but
best.
you could have done a lot better. At best,
Yeah.
a D minus.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like,
it's
really
genius line.
subtract the
This-
people.
This is their smartest episode yet. This is like prime Simpsons
so.
as far as like mixing
Probably.
humor
Yeah.
and
did anything happen?
genius.
Do we know
And-
if anything has happened to the writing team or something between last season and this season, or is it just
Oh,
they
I think
Well,
that
work
it's an
let's see who
awesome.
writes it. I got it
season
here.
and sit down and brainstorm? Like what happened to elevate it this quickly?
Well,
Well,
there was an
I'll
off
tell you,
season for
Francis,
one thing. Where they could simmer
this-
on ideas. But you go down.
This episode was directed by a very prolific director for the series, David Silverman, who did the first
Yeah,
2
who we've seen
episodes and
before.
some of it. Yeah, but written by David M. Stern, who has not written for the show before.
Yeah, there you go.
So he nailed
And
it. So
he
maybe they did
writes-
go out and look for some new writers, and
Well,
here's our
and
formula.
this guy,
People had seen the first season too, so people are probably pitching at them. It's just like, oh, I got this great Simpsons episode idea, and
yeah, he writes Camp Krusty.
oh, does he Stern?
write-
Oh, that's a great
yeah,
episode.
yeah, he writes a couple really, really good episodes. Camp Krusty, probably his biggest hit for the show. Mr. Black.
Mr.
Black.
Black. Well, normally
Right.
Francis'
Gentlemen?
segment comes up
Yeah.
first. Oh my god. Well, but since Baker's raring to go,
I know,
Let's
but
get,
just because it's so relevant this time.
it is. It's so
Yeah, let 'em
relevant.
slide right
So
into it.
yeah,
So-
I just gotta find it here. Here we go. Oh my god, what is your segment? Oh, here we go.
What's the
I'm
point?
just wondering, what's the point? Would it make any difference at all if I never existed? How can we sleep at night when there's so much suffering in the world?
Megan, that's how.
I have a hard time sleeping. Actually, I'm a bit of an insomniac. So yeah, we've been talking
a
about it
baby,
already
so
this whole episode.
Ditto.
Some episodes of The Simpsons, I think, are largely just comedic, or they have an interesting story, and there's like maybe a message that's like kind of there. And this is an episode, I think, where the message is really at the forefront, and it's that, is Bart dumb? Like, Homer calls him Tim. I don't think he is. I think what we're seeing is this episode is like an indictment of the education system, as you said, Davan, in the United States particularly, but also I think just like across a lot of different parts of I don't know what you'd call it, like North America.
I would say my mother's an elementary school teacher, and she never stopped complaining about the education system here. It's just
he's a square peg. They're trying to ram him in a round hole. He has certain abilities, like he's very creative. We see that like repeatedly. He comes up on the fly with these excuses. He's very imaginative, but he's just is not the type of student that is going to do well reading a book like Treasure Island. They're trying to force him to do this thing that is like this arbitrary metric of success or intelligence. And it's just kind of frustrating to watch because he clearly needs a different kind of educational model to succeed than what he's
And he
getting.
clearly has skills that he can succeed with if encouraged in the right way.
Yeah.
Like
So that's the point.
He's ahead of his class in a lot of ways. Like in Bart's, ahead of the game when it comes to the rest of his classmates. When it comes to,
socializing with adults, probably. Yeah, like he's more of an adult.
He's extremely clever. He's extremely quick-witted. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of giving him subject matter that's going to, have him want to pay attention and utilize those skills, or approaching him in a way that's going to make it, seem worth his while, right?
Yeah.
And like what is true with a lot of kids, it wasn't the case with me because I was always interested in history and these different subjects. Like it's true with me with math. I'll tell you that though. It's just like some kids are just not interested in the material, and it's just like that's fine. Like a lot of that material is really boring, especially with the education system as it is.
There's two strategies, right? You either encourage students to pursue the things that they are naturally passionate about, or in some cases, I do think some applied mathematics are useful. So you have to find ways to get these students to not tune out. Like giving them a book like Treasure Island and having them read it dry and write a book report. What if you sat Bart down and you like told them, listen, this book is about pirates, and this happens. Like there's different strategies that I think they're just not like you guys mentioned it, right? Like Pryor's just like, why are you so dumb, Bart? Can you tell us why? Like,
it's so dumb? That actually made me mad. I didn't laugh when he said that. I was just like,
they just don't think outside the box.
I think something too that teachers at least never used to do, maybe they do it a bit more now, is like even acknowledging that subject matter may not necessarily be particularly useful. Say, hey, look, listen, we got to do this math stuff. Not all math, but maybe this particular subject, this particular whatever. And say, listen, I know it's dry. I know it's not the most exciting. And, I know practically you're probably never going to use it again in your life. However, it is part of the curriculum. We got to tough it out together, guys, and get through it, because right after this, we get to do such and such thing that's much more relevant and funner to do. Unfortunately, we're stuck here. I think,
teachers would use that. Good teachers would do that.
I did that. I do that sometimes.
We're all in this together. I think it's dry and kind of shitty too, but let's just tough it out and get through it as quick as possible. And then we can get on to the next thing, which is actually cool, as opposed to having this barrier of like, I'm the authority figure and you must do what I say, and you must assume it's going to be beneficial to you, even though you're smart enough to clearly see it has no practical use, right? I'm not going to treat you like you're an idiot when you can clearly see right through it, right?
Yeah. Well, that's again, it's like, I think fortunately a lot of these strategies for teaching that we're talking about are being implemented more in the 90s, when The Simpsons was coming out. It was a bit more of a sink or swim environment. Even just like being held back a grade isn't really a thing that happens anymore, at least not here.
They're allowed to. I think your parents
they're allowed to, but they strongly don't do it. I remember my mom used to tell me about that too. She's just like, they don't really like to do that.
Yeah, it's overloaded
because the negatives outweigh the positives. Like, what is the positive? They get to redo the material of that grade, whereas the negatives are socially, at least, are like pretty drastic.
Well, I think it's a conversation we had. Like, I don't want to get too deep in this because we're running out of time, but I mean, I can see there's probably, negative impact psychologically, and also just like what really is the impact further in life? Are they really going to learn more? But in certain cases, like, I mean, I know a young man through extended family who was like in grade 8 or 9 reading at like a grade 3 level. And he made it all the way through there because no one would hold him back or replace it. Come to find out when it is testing, he was actually dyslexic. Got him a dyslexic tutor, and in a span of 18 months, he's right at where he's supposed to be, and actually at this point enjoyed reading. But this wasn't identified for years and years and years because anyone was scared to put him under the microscope a bit more and say, hey, what's actually going on here? And had, his parents not pushed to have that happen, he would have literally been an adult who graduated barely being able to read. And where does that put you later in life if you can't, you know what I mean? As opposed to, hey, taking the hit and staying back a year and actually learning to, read, which is obviously a necessary skill in life, right?
Yeah, man, they were Dr. J. Pryor. What's wrong with you? What's wrong there? You know?
Shrink of the year.
Oh, he's the best.
I don't know why. It's a perfectly cromulent word.
Ooh, everybody, this is a new section. My cromulent moments.
Get your hand off my car.
Yes.
Get
Get your hands off Malibu, Stacy. Oh, you'll appreciate this, Baker, because you don't know. I drive a Chevy Malibu, and I've named it Malibu Stacy. I did the first day I bought it.
Oh, that's excellent. Nice. I like that.
All right, so
we should call it Lisa Lionheart.
Oh, it's a mess. I gotta call it Malibu Stacy. I can't not do that.
The moves of Fat Maddie has evolved. Where once there was one, there now is three, where Francis will identify the three funniest moments of each episode, and we will debate, discuss, agree or not agree.
Yeah,
Francis,
I wouldn't even necessarily say the
up.
funniest, but it would be two to three gags per episode that really
Most
stood out to
cromulent.
me. 2 to 3 cromulent gags that stood out to me. And yeah, we'll just run over the boys. We'll have some fun. We'll shoot the shit out of the pitch. So what's the first one up? Did you get sound bites for these yet to happen?
Oh, for this one, I sure as hell did. All right.
Okay.
Hey,
Play it with
relax,
the emo.
man. It could end up being the best thing that ever happened to you. I got held back in the 4th grade myself. Twice. And look at me, man. Now I drive the school bus.
It's just...
No disagreements from me. This is one of the best lines ever. Like
I also loved when Bart first gets on and he asks him if he can have an accident. He's like, "Can't do it on purpose."
Do it on purpose. Yeah.
You might get lucky. Yeah. Oh man, that was the best. But that might be my favorite auto line ever. Now I the school bus.
This is classic Otto, man. He's right in his bag. This Otto is the Otto we're gonna see every day for the rest of the series. I loved it.
True.
Yeah, Otto Man is great. I do love me some Otto.
Ooh, yeah. We're gonna come back to that in a second because we skipped a segment. But anyway, next up. So no arguments there. Like I think one of the best lines in Simpsons. Like I love that line. I think the best line of the episode right there.
And look at the animation to his face. It's just
oh my god, he's so excited. He's just like, you don't understand. Like I drive the school bus. Like I'm basically like way up in the school system now.
Yeah.
Like
that's one way to look at it.
Next up, I've never felt so alive.
And for this one, honestly, the whole Martin thing, I think when Bart breaks to him that he's not cool might have been funnier than this part, but the entire that little 2 or 3 minute segment of Martin's evolution the entire thing was so funny to me. I forgot that whole thing happened, and it was, I don't know, it made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, for me, my favorite line of that kind of breakdown he was having was
The Martin Prince you made a deal with no longer exists.
it's like I have transcended my past self, and I am now Martin Beta, or like Martin Prime, or like
yeah, exactly, Martin Prime.
Yeah, Martin 2.0 in the internet age. Yeah, that's great. I think like him saying I've never felt so alive. See, this is if we're picking the 3 funniest moments, this is probably the one I would remove, Francis, from your 3 picks, and I would replace that with the whole straighten up and fly right.
Yeah, that was funny. That was real funny.
But your third one here, I have no disagreements with at all. It's just like
and it wasn't. Understand too, this was not about Mayor Quimby. It was about the entire snow day thing. Like, and this is we start seeing this as Simpsons now. They got the style down. It's just a complete hyperbolic, demonstration of the snow day. It's not like, oh hey, everyone's out sledding, and I could be out there sledding. He opens the curtains and there's music, and they make it so over the top about how crazy enjoyable it is. Mayor Quimby's like, this is the funnest day in the history that's ever happened. Like, and I love that you start seeing them do this, just like over the top, like they take the point and they just drive it down your throat. And
and the Simpsons love to rub the salt into a character's wound, especially Moe. Sure. But like they love to rub that salt.
Oh no, dear God, no!
That's a great. Yo, Jesus, God, no!
Yeah. Oh
my God!
Fire just doesn't escape either scenario. That's a great one.
Oh my God! But Yeah. Oh, you know what, fellas? What this scene reminded me of, though, with the winter stuff. So, how did season 1 start off? The Christmas episode, right? In this episode, the start of season 2, they sing a Christmas song. So it's almost like they're starting a tradition of Christmas episodes to start off the season, which I think they just scarred. I don't think season.
Well, they end up getting rid
3
of it for
episode 1.
Trios of Horrors, don't they? Don't they?
Trios of Horrors are never the first episode
starting
of the
off.
season.
No, but aren't they usually the first one? After
Really?
We can look into that.
Yeah, we'll look into that. The first Treehouse of Horror is this season, and it's like episode 4.
Yeah, but
it's coming up soon. I'm looking forward to that.
It's the first one for a few seasons, but anyway, I'm done.
Maybe.
I think you might be right.
Might be right there. All right, so we skipped a segment, fellas, and it's a very important one for this episode because there's like a lot of choices to choose from. Usually, we have this like one side character that takes up all the oxygen, but that's not the case here.
Send in those soulful and doleful schmotes by the bowlful.
Excuse me, fellas.
I mean, just for the interest of time, I guess I'll just shout out Quimby again.
Beautiful.
Quimby's great. First time we see Quimby. Hilarious character.
Yeah, agreed. I only got like 5-ish more, maybe 10 minutes. Krabappel, hands down. I love Krabappel, and she's just herself in this. She's so unfeeling. Just like another year with you, Bart's gonna be hell. Like it's totally
kind of unfeeling. Has a bit of compassion for Bart though.
In the end, for sure she does.
She does eventually when she realizes he's upset, but just her initial stance is so apathetic, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that's her. Like they're all beaten down by the school system. Her and Miss Hoover, all of them. Well, I was going to pick Krabappel, but since you guys didn't mention him, I'll give it to Martin. Martin kind of shined a bit in this episode.
He did, yeah.
All right. Well.
All right, just take your seat. Just take your seat. I even wrote theme music. There, listen. For Glavin out.
So, Amoria phlebitis is made up by the Simpsons.
Okay,
but
so
phlebitis,
not real.
But phlebitis is a real thing. They just created phlebitis is inflammation of a vein, usually in the legs. It most commonly occurs in superficial veins. Phlebitis often occurs in conjunction with thrombosis and is then called thrombophlebitis, believe it or not, or superficial thrombophlebitis. Unlike deep vein thrombosis, the probability that superficial thrombophlebitis will cause a clot to break up and be transported in pieces to the lung is very low. That's the good news. That's the good news, fellas. So there's your Glavin for Glavin out loud, fellas.
Why is
for
that
Glavin out loud?
Even in the school nurse's book of things to diagnose? That's so extreme. Like, shouldn't they have a book of like basic stuff and like anything beyond this send them to the hospital?
I ain't saying nothing.
All right, we got a quick friggin' game to kick off season 2 for you fellas. I think it's season of the Baker. Look, you guys, Baker's, he's a humble fella, a modest fella.
Well, we agreed to
he's not gonna
this segment.
I thought we did.
No, we definitely
even though
didn't.
like I love it, but like I thought we.
Yeah. All right, so
do
here
more
we go.
punishment for me. All right.
Yeah, oh, it's beautiful. The people love it. I know they do. And Francis definitely does. All right. So remember, wait till I finish the quote for the audience. And then, so this is the quote one. This is Who's Been Talking with Johnny Tightlips. So, number 1. A town with money is a little like the mule with the spinning wheel. No one knows how he got it, and danged if he knows how to use it.
It's the salesman. It's the salesman for the monorail.
Franny gets the Lyle Langley.
I said Langley.
You said Langley?
I thought it was Langley.
You got
and in my mind,
Lyle.
I'm like, that's not a real name. It's got to be Lang. Anyway, I knew what guy.
You got salesman. You know what? You each get a point for that one. All right, 1 point each. You guys keep track of your own point.
Voiced by Hartman.
True.
Rest his soul.
True. All right, point each. Number 2. Order now, and you'll also get Sun and Run, the suntan lotion that's also a laxative.
Also Hartman. It's Troy McClure. Or no, it's Dr. Nick. Dr. Nick.
I had no idea. Word.
Yeah.
Right,
Troy
2-1
McClure does
Baker.
infomercials too, so that's why I got them mixed up.
Yeah, or it could have been like Brockman, maybe, or like or Krusty. Yep. All right, number 2-1 Baker. Really lead. Number 3. I thought I'd get into shape, so I've been drinking nothing but milkshakes.
Yeah, Krusty.
What was that?
Really fat.
Krusty, yeah.
That was.
Did you say that, Francis?
Diet milkshakes, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I got it."
Francis got
it. At least from me, from the way the lag is. I don't know if I.
Yeah.
No.
I heard you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All
right, 2-2. 2-2.
Yeah,
all right.
Just like
number 4. Well, I didn't want hungry birds pecking my soul forever. Millhouse. Well done. That was an obscure one. I didn't think you guys would get that one.
It's the Bart Sells the Soul episode.
It is, yeah. All right. Franny's got 1 point lead. 2 questions remain.
That's okay.
Number 5. He'll tell you that in nature, one creature invariably eats another to survive.
Is that Troy McClure?
Troy McClure.
Yeah, Baker got that.
I think we can call that a tie. Yeah.
No, I heard Baker a good second or 2 before you.
Francis. Yeah, I was gonna say Francis. I don't know about that one.
Baker was it. No, Baker was in there on that one, and that's the way that one quotes. He's just like, "Don't be fooled, Billy. If that cow would, he would kill you and everyone would care about."
All right.
Oh my God.
One more for the tiebreaker.
Tying with the final one, and this one's probably, I worry, too easy. 6. Yeah, give me one of those porno magazines, a large box of condoms, a bottle of Old Harper, a box of panty shields, and some illegal fireworks. And one of those disposable enemas. You know what? Make it 2.
Homer.
Yeah.
Like that's...
I'm sorry, I couldn't even wait till you finished, Davan. I got too excited. I called it out.
That's going to be a tie, though, because Baker obviously knew it.
I know.
It was just a matter of which one
that's a tie.
Out first. Like, yeah.
Sorry.
Right,
sorry,
that's
Francis.
a tie.
Sorry, too excited.
I have no more. All
right.
That one ends in a tie.
That's fine.
And some illegal fireworks. And
I know. I knew that one was a bad 6th one because it was too long and too obvious. So that's on me. You guys tie for the first episode of season. Yeah, I know. I just wanted to say the quote, but that's fine. All right. Here's a number. Here's a tiebreaker for you. Okay. Everybody relax. These dogs never fail.
Wiggum.
All right, Franny wins.
Yeah, see? All right. The Savant takes it.
It was a good one, though. That was one I almost added and didn't, so I had it at the top. These dogs never fail. Then they like bite the shit out of like Wiggum, don't they?
No, those are 2 different episodes. So as they attack him, when he says these dogs never fail, they go to find Milhouse. Then the parents are like, "Well, are they just gonna find Milhouse, or are they gonna find him and kill him?" And he's like, "Oh, they're gonna find him."
Anyway, so
we gotta rate this episode, fellas. We gotta rate this episode.
We can save the rating for another, like for next episode. Yeah,
it'll take us 2 seconds. Let's rate this episode.
So, in conclusion, on the Simpsons scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and 5 being average. Any questions?
Story, I don't know. Kind of basic, but not bad. I'm gonna give it a 7. Baker?
It's not up. I can't see it.
That's
fine. Oh, really?
I'll give the story.
My bad.
A 7.
There we go.
Yeah, the story was pretty good.
7.
Give it a 7.
Francis?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Story's a 7. It's pretty good.
All right. Humor. Ooh. I mean, it's good. It's good. Yeah, no, I'm thinking 7 as well. Bigger.
It's pretty funny. I'll give it I don't know. I'll have to think more about this, honestly, but I'll give it a 6 for now.
Yeah, I
Same
almost
here,
went
6.
6 myself. Yeah, I almost went 6 myself. I'm
Damn.
gonna meet you guys here.
Every time now.
Look, I'm open to arguments. I'm not a closed-minded fella.
I
Heart.
didn't
I think there's a
argue.
lot of heart in this episode.
Okay.
I'm gonna give the heart an 8.
Yeah, okay.
There's a lot
I'll
of
go
heart
with
here.
an 8. 8 is pretty good. A lot of heart in this.
I'll probably go 7. 7 on the heart. You know what? No,
And
7.
he always has to be the hard ass. 7-5. Okay, he's feeling warm in that cockles.
You're hard on the people and the things you love most, Davan.
It's true. It's true. All right, well, fellas, that's the end of our show.
Yeah.
And
it's just gonna keep getting better.
Yeah. We're members of the United Federation of Podcasts, but you know what? I'm actually gonna skip the plugs tonight. But here we are. Here's our federation logo anyway. Oh wait. I don't even have that. Well, you know what? I'm skipping everything.
Davan, no, what you should do is create a sound bite, so you don't have to actually say it each time. You just have like a really nice
sound bite for. Well, the only thing is the topics change sometimes for what's going on.
Oh yeah, no, the rundown
so you can
changes
plug
all
and
the
play
time.
certain things. You can
Well, I have one for the end. I have one for the end.
We're in the United Federation of Podcasts. There's a lot of great podcasts that are part of the network. There's obviously a lot of Star Trek podcasts.
If you're here visually.
Yeah.
Here's the rundown.
Movie podcasts.
Boom, boom.
The Mater Brothers are great. There's the X-Men X-rated podcast. The Hellbound podcast I've actually been listening to. It's quite good.
Have you?
Graphic
Oh,
history
very
is
good.
great. A lot of great podcast content affiliated with us. So check it out, folks.
Review debates, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
All right.
Anyway, I'm sweating like a pig.
Let's
so
get out of here, fellas.
Yeah, I'm out of here too, boys.
Here's
well,
peace,
because
boys.
you guys have a Moria phlebitis. You guys really
I gotta go to the school nurse. All right, have a good night, everybody.
Until next time, boys.
All right, peace. Later.
KBBBL podcast. Where the extra B is for BYOBB.
Where's my elephant?